Hey, welcome to the Blind Betty podcast, where we tell life inside the mess. Today's guest is none other than Ren Collier. Woo!
Hello there.
Ren, you've been my personal coach for an extremely long time, but please, would you tell our audience just who you are outside of the gym and what brought you here?
Outside of the gym, well, I'm a dad and a husband, and that keeps me plenty busy now on top of running a business. And I have two little girls that are just running us ragged at home. They're 2 and 4 years old, and they're maybe a little too much like dad. And there's a lot.
Life.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of sarcasm and tricks and stuff, and so we're holding it together. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
Awesome. So what started your journey into the fitness world? Because you and I have had a lot of conversation. You met me at a dark spot in my life where I was reaching out and needing a hand. But I find your journey to be extremely fascinating in how you got into fitness and where even FitRX and your name and who you are today as a coach, where that kind of stemmed from growing up, how it was fitness in your world growing up into what's going on today.
Yeah, so I started off, I was always really active as a kid, which for most people that get into this profession, they usually are pretty active, played a lot of team sports, and was always a little hyperactive growing up. I probably would have been diagnosed much earlier with ADHD as a kid. So I was always playing team sports and always running around and disturbing class, being a distraction. And but I also had really low self-esteem and self-worth. Grew up in a broken home, and there was substance abuse, there was mental health issues that were really prevalent, and I actually was struggling with a bit of that too. ADHD, depression started to develop myself, experiencing a lot of abuse and going through that and witnessing it firsthand, and even experiencing some of it, verbal abuse and things of that nature. So I struggled a lot with my own self-worth, self-confidence. And so sports and physical activity were always an outlet for me to kind of just, escape from that.
I was going to say a coping mechanism almost. Like
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and also other things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of kids in my generation, I grew up playing a lot of video games and became obsessed with all sorts of different things, like Dragon Ball Z, which is like an anime. It's about martial arts, but the biggest thing is it's about overcoming. It's about defeating yourself and becoming better, training to be stronger mentally, physically. And so I still have very fond memories of that show in particular, because the characters were always trying to better themselves and push themselves and overcome whether it was some sort of rival or some sort of situation that they had to figure out. So that was some of my early inspirations for being strong or being active, came from things like that, watching Batman or those sort of things. And then of course, growing up, like Michael Jordan was like the biggest thing ever in basketball. And then, I was a big Patriots fan, so I was always fascinated with how people overcame things, like how they came from really, from essentially nothing and were able to overcome things in life, but then also able to achieve things at the highest level. That always fascinated me, like it does a lot of people. So a lot of those types of things really captivated me. So eventually I ended up playing football for the first time as a sophomore in high school. So a lot of kids played since grade school.
Gotcha, yeah.
I never tried because I was 130 pounds soaking wet as a sophomore in high school, skinny and didn't have much strength really. I had a lot of pent up anger though, so that helped a little bit. But yeah, so that ultimately led me to the weight room, finding a passion for lifting and for teaching it, even though I knew nothing. And I didn't even know that personal trainer was a thing
Yeah.
when I was there. So one day it just clicked. Like, I didn't know, where am I going? What am I going to do for my career? Like, I wanted to find something that was going to get me excited to get out of bed every morning, something that gave me a drive and a purpose to get out of bed every morning. And I just couldn't think of something that set that fire in me. And eventually one day it just clicked. And I remember being just so amped up. I had to tell somebody. So I told this guy that was helping me figure out where to go to college and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so essentially the rest is history. I got my degree in health science and overcame some other challenges throughout college and got into the workforce and started pounding the pavement. And it took a long time to get here.
Yeah.
Between my own mental health struggles and trying to come out of my shell, because it was really difficult for me to connect with people I didn't know, especially adults. It was I just had a difficult time, because around people I knew and I was comfortable with, I was seemingly very extroverted.
Yeah.
But around different people that I didn't know, it was a much different story. And so it took me several years to develop, just to basically just let go and to relax a little. You know, that social anxiety was a big challenge for me to overcome, but ultimately it was really good for me and helped me develop as a person and as a professional. So now when I meet new people, I dial it back a little bit so I don't scare them away. But you know, you see me in here every day. I'm shouting, I'm cracking jokes, and we're having a good time in here, and we're also working really hard as well.
Yeah.
But that took a long time to develop. You know, the skills part, teaching somebody how to do a squat or how to lift, that stuff's pretty easy. You can teach that to anybody, but to teach somebody how to connect with people, make people feel comfortable, keep people coming back, that's much harder to do.
Yeah, there's so much relatability in your story getting you to where you are today that I can see how you connect. And something that I felt a lot since the day we met and all through our years working together is your ability to be very vulnerable, to share these experiences, because it makes this connection that says, oh, I'm not alone. And you've kind of touched on a little bit just what you said, but did you have a major blind spot that you actually had to overcome before you could help others see theirs and help them transform as a coach?
Yeah, I had to learn to transform myself before I could preach to people, let's say, to be healthy, strong, fit, be consistent, put your best foot forward every day. I had to really learn to do that myself, because I wasn't exercising on a regular basis. I would hit it hard for a few weeks and then I would stop for several months. And that's not a very good example to set for your clientele, your family, your friends. So you need to be practicing it too. And that's a big pet peeve of mine. Like, if you're not doing it, you shouldn't be giving advice for it, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So I started taking it more seriously. I got some help from some other trainers, some mentors of mine that encouraged me and pushed me to lift more. Before I started throwing extra weight in people's hands, I had other people doing it for me. I'd pick up some weight and bang out a set and be like, you could have done twice as many reps with that. Go pick up those. They're like 15 pounds more or whatever. And I would do it, and I surprised myself. I'm like, wow. And after about 3 to 6 months of starting to push the envelope and learning that I was a lot stronger than I thought I was, I started to notice the changes in myself, not just like physically, like how my body looked or felt, but the things I was able to do. I was able to ragdoll things around. Like, I used to work at a retail store, and there would be these punching bags we'd have to haul out for people. And those 100-pound punching bags were a real struggle for me to move around. Well, those things started to feel lighter in my hands, just little things like that you never think about until you experience it.
Right.
And it's amazing the changes and how your confidence, your mindset shifts along the way too, because you're constantly trying to overcome the weight when you're in the gym, and that weight could also be a hard conversation that you
100%.
need to that you need to have with somebody, or maybe a hard lesson that you have to learn yourself. And so really, if you're paying attention and you're doing this consistently, it transfers to every facet of your life. And I've experienced it myself, but then I've also experienced it with the clientele.
Yeah.
I just had somebody text me the other day, a person that's been working with me for just a year now, just one time a week. And I guess her daughter was bragging like, oh, my mom can help you move that. She can deadlift 100 pounds. And, and she was so excited because she sees how excited her daughter is. Yeah. So she's setting this great example for her kids. And she feels really good herself for that, and having the confidence to do more herself now. So to me, there's nothing more fulfilling about this job than little stories like that.
Right, yeah. And I've seen that over and over again in the class as well. It's part of the reason, and we can go into this a little bit, because when we first met, like I said, I was going through a very hard divorce, and I literally at work took out a piece of paper and wrote Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was like, when do I have time to work out? When do I have time? Because I can't do this on my own. If I'm left to my own devices, I'm going home, I'm grabbing the bottle off the counter, and I will be a puddle on the floor. And I'll reach for something toxic versus having accountability and showing up. And I was always someone who's been very strong and athletic to do things on my own. I've always had a very, the mindset of like, I can do anything, but at this moment in my life, it was so low that I needed somebody to be there to hold me accountable. And I've been a coach in different facets, in nutrition and dietetics, and outdoor movement classes, that I wanted to put my trust into another coach. And I remember calling and meeting you at the first time, and you asked some wonderful questions, and it was like, how do I fit this in? Right? And we found like a Thursday and Tuesday afternoon for an hour. And you were so open to allowing my daughter to come with me, because that was the other part. I'm now a single parent, and I'm like, I don't have daycare for her, so I need to bring her, and I bring her snacks and set her up in a little foam fort in the corner of the room.
I still got pictures of that, by the way.
We built her a little obstacle course that she could run through. But I think that was something that really meant a lot in my struggles, was to say, no, Ren's going to be there and he's waiting for me, so I need to show up. And some days it was lifting weights, and sometimes I'd have a barbell over my head and I'd just start crying because things were really hard. But then other days you're like, okay, I can see it was a stressful day, and like, we're going to do just some stretching and some, dynamic movements. And it wasn't always like tack on the strength, but what you were able to do for me at that time was build a mind-body connection where I wanted to separate myself from the situations going on. So like we were just saying, it was a mental game, and it was bringing me back into my body and present moments where I wanted to like just start projecting out, or I was reminiscing on events that had just, happened or was currently might happen in the future. And so strength training, to me, that's where it really started, but it's only progressed over the last, 6-7 years now, because I remember, lifting, and then watching others come into our class. And then I was starting to become a little more of a role model, where I was looking up to other people in your class going, oh, I want to be like them. There was other people that were coming and they're like, I want to be like her. And I was like, me? No, and then, but then it was just like, oh, we're working together. And then we're cheering each other on, and like, adding weights, and we kind of have this tiny little competition. And it was just like, it was so much fun. It like, because there was just this joy that was built into the class, and not just always having to be solo. Like you do a very good job of N of one, where it's like, here's your weights, keep progressing as an individual, right? But then it's all incorporated into this greater community of working together and build up. And I think some of my fondest memories, and I just laugh, is Pierre. When he would lift, we were never really in the same class ever, but you would tell me what his weights were, and I would have to put a fractional on.
Just a little bit closer to his. Yeah.
Just so we could write in the book and poke fun back and forth, or get a heavier kettlebell or something, It puts some humor into, and some fun into the class as well. And it made it so enjoyable. Or pushing Roxy, up and down on the sled, when we're working out. So, where I was going with this is just like, what have you seen over the years when it comes to working with someone like myself in, something that I might not have seen, obviously, because I'm working out with you with my own struggles, but you as a coach, kind of finding people's blind spots and working them through them, So like, what did you see in me and when I started, and as I have progressed over the last 7 years working with you?
What I see in you at the beginning, man, it's going back a ways, but it's been a long time. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just saw somebody that was eager to do something to escape and do something healthy for themselves. And I mean, you had told me a bit about some of your experience with coaching others and stuff, and you started opening up to me about some of the things that you were going through. And so, I realized pretty quickly that you didn't just need a training program, which is for pretty much everybody that comes in. They might need connection. They might need some sort of healthy outlet like you did for something else going on beyond the physical. And that's, again, you can get so much more out of doing this than just getting stronger or getting leaner. There's the health aspects, but there's the mental health aspects too. A lot of people these days, they don't get out and make friends or have friend circles or really get out of the house. They might be working from home, or they might be stay-at-home moms that work from home, so they don't ever go anywhere or see anyone. So having some sort of social connection with some sort of group is huge.
Yeah.
There's some research out there saying that isolation can be downright as bad as smoking.
Yeah.
And I have, family members that have been isolated before, and it does take a toll on your health. So I think that's a big aspect. We've learned, I think, from COVID, from having everything locked down and doing everything over Zoom or remotely in some capacity, that we want to be in person with people. We want to have connection.
Yeah.
There was a period of time after the pandemic had ended where online coaching had really boomed, but there's a lot of people, trainers and clientele, that are now starting to go back into the gyms because it's just not the same. And I've done some virtual coaching, I've done some online stuff, and it's a different skill set, and it's not entirely for me. I do a little bit for those that have been with me for a long time, but I enjoy being face to face because it is a lot different. Kind of like listening to your favorite band on streaming versus going in person. I mean, it's not even close.
Right.
The kind of experience that you have, and I've experienced that too. And so going in person to a gym, to a community or a class where you have people there that enjoy your company and you enjoy theirs, it goes well beyond getting stronger, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting you say, the isolation, because I'll reflect back. You and I, again, friendship and coaching have always, whether you've known it or not, have been accessible. And in a way that even when I wasn't always talking about my vision and losing my vision, but it did start to come up because we trained in the gym for quite some time, and then we did go through COVID, so you were training me virtually. And then we got back in the gym, which was wonderful, community again. Then I got deeper into night blindness, and I couldn't drive in the dark. And so classes at night and in the morning were just I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't get back and forth to the gym. And you had stepped up and said, I've got a squat rack and some weights and like, let's make this happen. And next thing you knew, I had a home gym in my dining room, right, adjacent to my kitchen, where I could continue working out because that was so strong and it was keeping me going. And I was just like, okay, now this is accessible to me where I can continue lifting and help me with, writing out what workouts to do and how to keep progressing. And that just set me up for so much success personally. I'm not saying every trainer does this, but to be able to wake up, do hard things, and set the tone for the rest of the day was priceless. And now entering back into this community, what I found was the isolation started to get too much. Yes, I was still working at home, doing it on my own, but I missed community. I missed talking to people and being next to somebody. But I was really hesitant to step back into a gym again because I was different. I was going to have to come in with a cane. I wasn't going to see my weights anymore. It would take me so much longer. I'm going to cry as I talk about this. Talk about vulnerability. But for someone who is like really affluent to move around a gym and in a space, find exactly what weights I needed to get, set things up really flawlessly, and be consistent with that kind of routine to now almost being a beginner again, which has been my life lesson over the last 2 years so far of like not driving and being back in community is like, wow, an hour workout is now 2 hours when I do it on my own because it takes me that much longer to find my equipment and set it up. And even putting collars on a barbell has been challenging. And so coming back into this space where having a coach and having community is just, this is why the Blind Betty, nonprofit, it has been started, because individuals with, disabilities and just having a little extra help and community around them just to keep healthy and active in sports, or just, the accessibility to having a coach to be able to set up, like, you're just wonderful when it comes to got your weights all set up, here you go. It's more than just writing a script and say, or your, session, like, this is what you're going to, which is also wonderful through the app. But just the actual physical, put the weights on and it's ready to go. Here, let me hand that to you. Or like, are you able to find the weight on the floor? Or how can I, your ability to ask those questions is just, it's light years, and it's funny. It seems so little because that's what you're used to doing, is helping people set up and do the lifts, right? But it's not accessible to everybody. And that's really where I'm trying to fundraise and get it out to the world, that these little things mean a lot and can make the difference between, sitting on the sidelines and actually playing in the game, right? And doing the thing. So how do you see this gym, or in your experience, accessibility, and how you work it into your coaching programs? Because it's not just someone with, vision or disability, but you also have Forever Fit classes and folks who need a little extra help sometimes, who, might need a little extra, whether it's mental, like we said, confidence, or, or it is something with resistance training or strength. How do you incorporate that into your coaching specifically?
I don't know. That's it's just kind of something that I do.
Okay.
There's people that come in that maybe have a difficult time with memory, perhaps, with some of the seniors that I have. And so I know who to keep an eye on, a little bit more than that. And so I'm constantly trying to make sure I'm correcting whatever it is they're doing with their technique, or helping them get set up, or giving them some sort of variation to do because they can't do a certain exercise, or like you said, with you, helping you load your weights up a little bit more, pointing out when there's something on the floor that you might not be able to see, or just getting it out of the way. So I'm just in my classes, it's not a class that you're gonna see me in front of a crowd working out with them. My workout is set up and take down of equipment, and then correct form here, shout words of encouragement there. So I'm moving around and doing a lot. So I guess it'd be like world class. I don't know, world class. Coaching, I suppose, for lack of a better term. Not to toot my own horn too much, but I take a lot of pride in making it accessible to people, not only that might have some limitations in that regard, maybe that's the wrong word to use, but they need some of that extra assistance.
Yeah.
But then also just to people that aren't comfortable in the gym in general. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things that you can get from doing this, but so many people are terrified of setting foot in a gym for whatever reason. Maybe they were that kid in gym class back in middle school or high school that was just maybe not as athletic or overweight and just really self-conscious of their bodies or their abilities. Absolutely. And so they never liked gym class, or maybe they've let themselves go in some way and they've lost a step, or they don't want to make a fool of themselves, or they're afraid of being judged. Well, I try to cultivate an environment in the facility that people feel comfortable coming to and continuing to come back to. And I think just being authentic myself and letting people know I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I indulge in sweets. I miss workouts sometimes. My sleep is crap sometimes. And I am okay making fun of myself, and I'm okay with the back and forth banter, so I'm kind of like, I'm on your level. I'm no better. I just have a different skill set.
Well, I'm going to double click on that, because something we've talked about that you're very, passionate about is mental health, but depression in particular. Because that's something I have experienced a lot here after losing my ability to drive, being more in isolation. And as I have listened to your stories of fighting depression, right, over the years, and how you navigate that journey within your lifestyle, your family, your workplace, it's really broken down walls, and it's lessened this stigma that I have found that's wrapped around the idea of even taking medication for depression, right? And the way you have talked about it, or taking medication, of a way of like kind of just getting on a ladder and climbing out of a hole to get you in a better place. Like it's a little like a hand up, like, hey, let's get us out of that dark spot, because then that incorporated with a healthy lifestyle will only help you excel. But I really appreciate that vulnerability as well, because at the time when I first heard you talking about it, I didn't really relate that much. But now that I started to kind of see it a little more in my life and how it affects my mood and my day-to-day, I've been able to kind of reflect on it a little bit more, and recognize when I am going through a bout of depression, and like take the steps to, get into a more positive mood, or just do something within the day that might be a little more self-care, right? And do that step up. And I actually, just the other day, my daughter said to me, it was like, Mom, you okay? And I'm like, I've been feeling a little down, honey. It's like, there's a reason I go to the gym a lot. And the endorphins, that serotonin, I'm like, it puts me in a happy mood, and it helps me give that boost. And so that too has been a big part of this. And I think a lot of people do recognize that, because it's something I think everybody, whether they're going through it themselves or they know somebody who is, right? It's something that we all kind of deal with. And it's just amazing the way you're able to coach it just so flawlessly within your lessons, and make it, like I said, you have a relatability when it comes to teaching that. I also tag on like this class, and where you say like, there are so many dynamics that come in, and so many different people that work out here, that sometimes I'm just in awe when we have dumbbells or we have barbells all weighted up in class, and there is every single body type represented in this space together and all lifting the same weight. And I'm always like, that just gives me so much joy to see that it's like you're not just this cookie cutter, weightlifting is not for just one person, and we all just come from different walks of life, and we'll have like conversations on the sideline as we're getting our shoes on or something, just about what we're doing next in life or a hardship or something that we're going through, and connecting with each other. And I've had more people offer rides so that I can get back and forth to the gym, more frequently, which has been really nice. Or we just talk about parenting, it's just like, it's pretty amazing.
Yep.
I just respect that a lot as well.
Yeah.
So,
Well, as far as the mental health stuff goes, I mean, obviously a lot of people are affected.
Yeah.
What is it? 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people are, suffer from some sort of mental health disorder. And so being open about it myself, hopefully, and I'm glad to hear that it helped you a little bit too. But I think it was just another step to showing people that I'm a normal person. I struggle with it too. And a lot of people were really surprised when I opened up about having depression, and also then eventually figuring out that I had ADHD as well. And a lot of people were surprised about that. But yeah, the gym and sports have been a really healthy outlet for me. And then also coaching, helping others achieve their goals and feel good about themselves, and helping seniors get their life back and improve their bone density, whatever, or help them play with their grandchildren or go skiing again, work in their garden. Those are highs for me.
Yeah,
those are
that's cool.
Just amazing things. So all of this has helped with my own, but yeah, then that wasn't quite enough though. I needed some other help. I needed therapy. I needed medication, which there was a lot of stigma around that too. And I was one of those people, is like, I can do it. I don't need medication. I don't want to have to rely on something like that. And once you start taking it and you see the changes that are happening, I mean, it just takes a lot of weight off you. And I had someone that was helping me out with some of my mental health issues tell me, when you have something like depression, you're just carrying an extra 100 pounds of weight around with you all day. It's just making everything you do harder. It's making every decision harder. Because I was constantly hypervigilant. I was constantly second guessing every decision I made. I was not organized at all. My head was spinning all the time, and I never felt like I got anything done. Even though clearly I was making progress with my career and with my family life and everything, I just always felt like I was behind and not doing enough, and not being enough. And it really hindered my growth. It slowed a lot of my growth down in a lot of ways. But I am glad, I am thankful that I was able to get through life without some of the medication. So I had like some skills that I developed over time to help me with that. But now having it does make things that much easier, and I'm able to do more for myself and for my family because of it.
Yeah, I respect that a lot. Yeah, definitely. And you have made some major pivots, because your journey from family life and having your 2 beautiful daughters, and that was trying at first. I was with you through that, and fertility. And so I just know the story that you and, it's just, it melts my heart, because, I went through 5 miscarriages myself. And so we reflected on just how hard that is, and having lost there, but overcoming it and seeing purpose. And now you have 2 beautiful daughters. And then, and you've done some incredible pivots here with the workplace. You went from one career to building this and what you're doing now, and not knowing if your clientele was going to come with you. Must have felt like a giant leap and a trust in something bigger than yourself. But having the support, Ashley has built her business alongside you building your business. It's a power couple. So how has that felt, as far as how did you have to kind of flip your script to get you through to where you are, in this business, from going from wow, this is really hard, it's to flipping a script almost on where you are.
Yeah, I've had to do that several times throughout my career. Some of my growth has been organic and smooth, and some of it's been very abrupt and very difficult. I started off working at multiple gyms and a retail job to help make ends meet. And after several years of driving all over the place and scraping by and not paying my school loans and all that, I was like, I either need to put all my eggs in this basket and make it as a coach, or figure something else out, because it was just too much. So I started working at a new facility where I had the best chance to grow, and I thankfully was able to do so. And I built a good reputation and clientele and got better as a coach and a person. But after several years of building that, I hit a pretty hard wall where I was, and had to take a risk, a calculated risk, but a risk nonetheless, and ended up changing gyms and going to a new place, and had a decent amount of clientele follow me, thankfully. But it took me a solid year to recover from that. I was really burnt out and very depressed. This was before medication. This was before COVID happened and everything. And so it took me a while to really get my passion back again. It was very difficult time, but I was able to start rebuilding and creating another community. So throughout that time, I was building that up, and then COVID happened. So kind of put the brakes on that for a little while, was able to pivot and adapt and do things virtually, and then come out of that a little bit better. And now, just 9 months ago, another big risk had to be taken, because I was losing a lot, really depressed again. Everything that I had been building since before COVID was being essentially destroyed. The community was being split up, and I was really feeling down. And thank goodness my wife was there. She was my rock, because I was not in a good place. She basically, overnight, we went from trying to make things work at the old place to then, hey, you're a business owner now, which had been a dream of mine since I was that little skinny kid in high school, not knowing where I was going. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to own my own gym one day, and people wanting free memberships and all that sort of thing. And I had eventually worked my way out of I convinced myself I didn't want to do it anymore. Business ownership is not for me. I'm a coach, and that's true, but I do have some skills as a business owner and I'm learning more all the time. But my wife, I'll tell you, she's the mastermind. She is incredible, and she's just got a knack for that sort of thing. And so we were able to make the change very quickly, and salvage and save the community that I had built. And now things have only grown since then. And it took, it didn't take a year to shake it off, but it did take several months. So I'm very thankful for her, and for the people that trusted me with their health and fitness, and the community we built. I'm very thankful for all of that. So you got to be willing to bet on yourself, because who else is going to do it? How else are you going to make it if you don't believe in yourself? The hard work is there. You're always going to have to put that in. But if you don't believe in yourself, and you're not coming each day giving your best, it's just not going to happen for you.
Right. There's only so much wishing you can do, right? There's a fine line to dreaming big and then actually, making it happen. Speaking of that, I'm going to just tap in here that I have a snowboard giveaway. It's something that, I've been in the industry building boards for the last 13 years, and you've watched that come to fruition and what it is. So for me, I've been a builder my whole life. And like, as you, building community, building strength. I physically have always been someone who likes to be hands-on, power tools and building, woodworking and such. And so this snowboard is another part of my journey, and specifically this one. This is the first snowboard that ever had a clear top sheet. It is the parquet court, the floor from the Celtics court, which is just absolutely amazing. And that was a tough journey, and we haven't really touched on it, but I was the only woman, the first woman to build snowboards for Burton when at Craig's prototype facility. And talk about really hard to be the only woman in a boys club. And we've had lots of discussions on that and what toxic masculinity is and my viewpoints. But I bring that back to the snowboard because I broke a lot of glass ceilings to build this board in particular. I was told it couldn't be done. I was pulled into the office and reprimanded for even building a parquet court out of scrap wood, all to turn around and be congratulated and put it into a board for the Boston Celtics. And it's one of our best boards we've ever built, hands down, in my opinion. And so for me, I'm giving this thing away now where I would love to hold it close to my heart, but I want to give it to help the nonprofit in order to help individuals through adaptive sports. So my question to you is, why is fitness in sports so important?
Oh, well, that's the question.
It's the question. Why would I be doing this? And in your perspective, why would anybody want to support a community and those who might have disabilities up-level themselves, right, for health and community?
So, like, why would somebody...
Why do you find it so important to be in this industry?
Oh, well, well, that little boy I talked about, that little Ren all those years ago that saw abuse, saw substance abuse and went through neglect and witnessing some pretty terrible things being done and said, you know, to people that should have been loving him, you know, and then to grow up feeling so alone and essentially feeling like an outcast at school or at home, locking himself in his room constantly, and then essentially leaving the house before he could even drive. I mean, the things that I went through, you know, I feel like I can empathize with a lot of people with whatever it is they're going through. You know, I've seen a lot of the ugly side of life, and you know, I had one person years ago I hadn't trained for a while. I bumped into at a convenience store, and we said hello and we talked just for a minute or two, and she said, you know, I'd like to thank you because you helped me leave an abusive marriage. And, you know, so I've had other people say, you saved my life, because I was suicidal or in a very dark place. And, you know, that's not everybody I meet. Maybe it's more than I've heard about, but you just never know. You know, you just never know. Some people are open and talk about it. Some people don't. And you just hope that you're able to make a positive impact and help them in some little way, whether it's them leaving a toxic relationship or getting some more quality years out of their life to enjoy with their family. You know, that's that fire that's still in me that I was looking for all those years ago from a career. And I just hope that my coaching and enthusiasm for this industry has helped more people than I know. And so, you know, because I've experienced good coaching, I've experienced bad coaching, and the good coaches, the ones that were able to connect with me, but also teach me quality skills, whether it was the sport or if it was like some sort of life skill. I remember them. I remember some of the moments with them and the impacts, whether we got close as as coach and
Yeah.
athlete or not. Those lessons have really stuck with me. The value of hard work, the value of empathy, the value of attention to detail, and also putting your arm around somebody and telling them, you're going to be okay, or encouraging them like, hey, like you can do more than you realize, or you can do better than that. Let me show you. I try to be that kind of coach myself, and it starts to bleed into other aspects of your life if you're paying attention. All the things that we do in here. I mean, putting that bar on your back or lifting that dumbbell, that's life. You're constantly trying to overcome.
Yeah.
You're constantly trying to adapt and enjoy the ride, but it's not for the faint of heart. Life is tough. It's beautiful, but it can also be brutal, and you gotta learn to enjoy the good and then ride out the bad, because it's all temporary.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of in closing, if someone is in the middle, they're hearing this for the first time and they're in their struggle, right? If that little boy is listening in on this podcast right now, or say there's a version of Bridget sitting in our house not wanting to leave or thinking possibly of joining this community, what's the first step for them?
Well, it's challenging to want to do it, because it can be scary, because you're not sure what to expect. But I guess just understand that it's well worth it if you can put the time in, and it's going to do so much more for you than you realize. Everybody starts this out wanting to build muscle, lose fat, or hike a mountain, whatever the case may be. But
right.
As we've touched on multiple times now, the transformation goes well beyond that, and it's difficult to understand unless you experience it. So the hardest part is often the first step, and so just taking a chance on yourself and giving it time, because at first it might feel uncomfortable, it might feel scary. I'd like to think that I'm pretty approachable, and I can, I make it fun. So, it's not all doom and gloom in the gym. You can have a good time. That is allowed in here.
Very much so.
But yeah, it's gonna be hard work. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but the benefits are well worth your time and effort. And if you can get yourself in here and be consistent and just make it part of your life, as much as showering, brushing your teeth, whatever the case may be, that's where the real results start to happen. It's not coming in for 30 days and leaving. Right. It's not even coming in for 12 weeks. It's the months and years that you put in, where you see and feel the real benefits of all this.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. one day at a time, right? And you just keep moving forward.
One rep at a time.
One rep at a time, right? And it builds resilience. Like I've noticed, especially with the progression of my eyesight loss, it's like, wow, I'm a little more unstable just because I don't see my surroundings, right? And so little muscle movements that I'm having to work on, more so now than I ever have before, but still staying strong every single day. Or, as I say, it's never the action of the sport that I'm doing that catches me. Like I can bike ride, no problem. I can still snowboard. It's the falling aspect, and to be able to get up real quick and keep moving forward. That's what I build every day when I'm in the gym, is that resilience to get back up, and keep going. So, in final closing, do you have a favorite quote or song lyric or kind of a motto you live by? Anything comes to mind?
Do what you're doing, but better. No,
That's what he says every day in class.
no. Well, one of my favorites. Let me give you a story.
Okay. I'm closing on this story. Here we go.
So, the Chinese bamboo tree
Okay.
takes a very long time to grow. You plant the seed, you water it, you tend to it, you give it sunlight, you do everything you can. Whole year goes by. Nothing happens. Nothing to show for it. Keep watering it. People start making fun of you, like, why are you watering that little patch of grass all the time, man? And you start wondering, did a bird get it? Did I water it too much? 2 years go by, 3 years go by, 5 years. 5 years of nothing to show for all your hard work, until one day it sprouts and grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Because what you don't see is under the surface, those roots are digging down deep and gathering tons of nutrients so that it can shoot up. And that's really what happens when you're trying to achieve anything. There's no overnight success. That doesn't just happen. It's all the hours, thousands of hours of practice and connections and reps that you're putting in that leads to all that growth that doesn't usually show up on an Instagram feed or doesn't show up on TV, whatever it is. That's where the magic happens. So again, you make this a part of your normal life. You just do the thing. You come in on the bad days. You come in on the good days. You do your best. You go home. Tomorrow's another day. And eventually those goals will happen. Those better relationships will start to flourish. It happens, but it can be a grind. So enjoy it. Enjoy the journey, because the journey is 99.9% of the time you're going to put in.
Right.
The goals, the accomplishments are just a fleeting moment. And so enjoy the little moments in the gym, or enjoy the little moments with your family or with your coworkers. Enjoy the relationships and enjoy life, because the end results, they're not going to change you in the same manner that you think they're going to. It's gonna feel great, but then the next day you're back to it.
I was going to say, I have found personally the most growth I ever go through is in darkness. Right?
When when the only way to go is up,
Yeah.
it's actually not the worst place to be.
No, nope. You spread your roots, make a foundation, and then it's only up from there. So, right.
Damn right.
Holy cow! Wow.
Man, that was deep.
Woo! All right, guys.
That escalated quickly.
Sensei. Coach run, everybody. All right.
That was way too serious. I'm exhausted.
I know. Go take a nap. All right, you guys. Thank you for tuning into the Blind Betty podcast. Like I had mentioned, we are doing the snowboard giveaway, so please click the link in the bio and get yourself a ticket. We only have a month left. And I really hope you enjoyed this conversation, because it's so meaningful, and to keep going, build resilience and stay strong, okay? So take care, and we'll talk to you later.
Feeling your goals drift, better learn to focus. Giving and hone in, living in the moment. Go with the flow, yo, don't be your own opponent. Sometimes you gotta grow to know which way you're rolling.